Hey everyone, this is Nathan Williams with BlackCurrant79.com, and I'm back here with another hand history review for you guys. This hand was sent to me by Jeremy, and this was played at the NL5 Euro tables 6 max on PokerStars. So he's dealt the old 7-4 offsuit in the big blind. Obviously not a great hand, but as you can see by the action preflop here, to the standard low stakes limp family pot, almost, villain 28. Sadly decided to fold there. So with that said, there's really nothing to say here. Obviously, we just hit Jeremy just hits the check button there and flops the old nuts. So this is an interesting spot. So we have a huge family pot here, and we're going to be second to act of 5 people here. So my plan always in a spot like this is to check raise and get as much money in the pot as possible. And the way to do that is by check raising. So since we are somewhat early in the action, we're second of 5 to act. I think that the odds of us being able to get a check raise in are good here. So I definitely highly agree with Jeremy's decision here to check and hopefully get a check raise in. Hopefully one of these remaining 3 players will make a bet at it, and as you can see, we get that right away there. So it comes back around to the small blind who makes the call, and now it's on Jeremy. So I hope you guys understand why a check raise here is always the correct play. As I talk about all the time on my blog and in my books, especially Crushing the Micro Stakes, my book Crushing the Micro Stakes, is fast playing is just always the best option in my opinion, especially at these stakes like NL2 and NL5 online, or in your $1, $2 games live as well. And that is just because there's so many there's so many players in these games who are recreational players, who are regulars, who aren't that good. They're not very good at finding the fold button, for instance. And so I just think that we want to always be getting as much value as possible. So we don't want to be slow playing or things like that in spots like this. And there's a lot of cards that can roll off on the turn that, will definitely hurt our action, for instance, like a 2 or a 4 or something like that. We don't really want to see those kind of cards. So Jeremy does end up agreeing with me, and he goes for the check raise as well. However, I will disagree with the bet sizing here. I think that the check raise is definitely 100% good. However, I would really like a bigger bet sizing here. I would actually prefer going all the way to 50 cents or 50 euro. What do they call them in euros? I don't know. I'm just going to say 50 cents. I would actually prefer going to 50 here just to really charge any kind of draws or, a lot of times these guys could be limping in there with pocket 9s or something like that. You really just want to get that value out of them before the ace or the king rolls off on the turn and pocket 9s gets all scared. And so I really prefer going higher at this point with a bigger raise size. We'll see what happens. So villain 30 makes the call, and the reads that Jeremy gave me on this guy is that he's a 25% VPIP, 17% preflop raise, and a 4% aggression factor. Those are HUD sets, by the way, and I'll have a link in the description below if you want more on that. But basically what that means is this guy he's a slightly loose and aggressive player for 6 max, so he's going to be in there with quite a few hands and kind of splashing around a fair bit. So the turn comes with the 8s. Now, this is a kind of interesting card, but not really. I mean, we don't have the nuts now. We have the second nuts because 7-9, the 7-9 gut shot got there. But that is such a small part of his range. So I would basically still be looking at this spot as like basically I have the nuts. There's a lot of hands he could have, like we talked about before, and be a slow played overpair. He could have 2 pair at this point. He's in the small blind, so I definitely think he's going to have hands that he completed with preflop, like 8-6, 6-5, maybe even 3-5. I don't think he'll have 3-8, but he could have 5-8. I think that these are all hands that a slightly loose player will definitely complete the small blind with in a limp pot preflop. So let's see how the action plays out here on the turn. All right, so villain 30, he goes for the check, and Jeremy goes for what, again, I think is 100% the correct play, which is to bet here. Now, this is where the hand gets interesting because villain 30 decides to go all in. Wow. What on earth do we do in a spot like this? Well, I briefly looked over this hand before, and I will tell you my decision would be 100% to call in this spot. Like I said before, there's only one hand that possibly beats us in this situation. I think that there are so many other hands that he could have that we are ahead of. I already listed several of them. All of the two pairs. There's also a lot of sets that he can have. Pocket threes, pocket fives, pocket sixes, pocket eights. All of those hands make a set, and Jeremy actually says to me that he put him on a set in this hand. So I definitely agree with Jeremy's decision to make the call in this spot. And as he tells me in the email, he named the text, this hand history, "There is no God," and he tells me the conclusion of this hand is a great illustration of why there is no God and our existence on Earth is doomed. And as you can see by the results in this hand, this is a pretty rough spot. It definitely is good proof for the existence of no God. There being no God, I would have to agree with that point. But I hope that this hand was sort of helpful for you guys. It is a massive cooler. It happens in poker. I really think that there's not really too many other ways we can play this hand. It's one of those situations where we're just going to lose all our chips. As I talk about a lot in situations like this, I made a video a couple weeks ago called, what was it called? How to deal with coolers in poker, I think it was called. And it was a situation just like this, and where it was kind of a situation where we had like the second nuts and they had the nuts. And as I always say in spots like this, the shoe is always going to be on the other foot. That's kind of a saying, meaning that, in the future, we're going to have the 9-7, they're going to have the 7-4. And the only thing you need to ask yourself is, do they go broke 100% of the time to us? And I think clearly the answer is yes. And so that is why you don't really have to worry about situations too much like this, because it's essentially going to be a wash in the long run, or you can call it neutral EV, expected value. Because if they're going to go broke to us in the future when the roles are reversed here, it's really not going to make any difference to the long-term our long-term winnings. So the only point that I disagree in this hand was the bet sizing with the check raise on the flop. I think we should go for a higher amount, and just because you can see they will call with hands like this, so I will call with a gut shot. So, but other than that, I wouldn't worry about this hand too much when situations like this pop up for you guys. It always sucks to lose all your money, to lose a stack, and it feels like a setup, but you gotta always remember that situations like this are going to happen for you in the future. And believe me, they're going to lose all their money to you, so it's going to come back to you in the end. So let me know your guys' thoughts and comments on this hand. Do you agree with my description, my comments, or do you disagree with them? Also, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe if you liked the video and you want to see more videos like this. And lastly, make sure you pick up a copy of my free poker ebook. The link is in the description below. And in that, you will learn my complete strategy on how I crush these stakes for some of the highest winnings ever created. So with that said, thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been Nathan Williams with BlackCrane79.com.